Okay, hello. Joseph Argis here. Welcome to the Rules for Success podcast, rulesforsuccess.com. Excited. I'm here to engage and connect with somebody extraordinary, somebody I've come to respect a lot. We're in an amazing mastermind together. We've connected. This is Greg Zlevor. Greg is a 9 times Amazon best-selling author, including international and Wall Street Journal bestsellers. Pretty amazing 9 times. I believe he's working on his 10th book. We talked about the last time. He's a TEDx speaker who spent 25 years elevating leadership across the globe. He's the president of Westwood International, a leadership consulting firm trusted by organizations like GE, Intel, and United Airlines. Greg's impact goes beyond the boardroom. He's the founder of HopeMakers, a powerful movement uplifting homeless children and at-risk youth across 5 continents. He's also on the board of the Hope Foundation, a different foundation. Whether he's coaching executives or helping transform lives through service, Greg leads with purpose and grit. I'm super excited about having him on our podcast. You can access this podcast at rulesforsuccess.com. As an engineer, my team's already put together a mind map. We'll be adding parts of what we hear Greg say, so we'll kind of optimize onto the mind map. You'll see that in addition to Greg's contact. Greg, how are you today, brother?
Well, it's great to be here. Wonderful to be invited. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Right. You've got quite a background, quite extensive answer, 25, 30 plus years, being an entrepreneur, being involved with impact. I'm very much a big believer in building businesses, it's really creating an impact in the world, finding ways to even add more value, even beyond ourselves. And yep, I'm excited. I'm really excited about all of this. So what the hell drives you all these years? What keeps you in the fight to lead, serve, and create, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been involved with groups and teams, and it's what's kind of driven me, how people work together, and how people can create together. I started out as a science teacher and a football coach in a high school, and went on and got my master's from Boston College, and then they asked me to be on staff there for several years, which I did as a chaplain, designing and running leadership programs, mission trips, things during spring breaks, retreats, etc., for faculty, staff, and students. And while I was doing work there at Boston College, I got connected with a gentleman named M. Scott Peck, who wrote The Road Less Traveled, Different Drum, and was at the time when I started his youngest facilitator in group dynamics and community building. And
Wow.
so have built that in to pretty much all of my work, and it's part of why a lot of companies continue to come to me over and over again, because the way I design and run leadership programs is not just helping individuals, but helping networks be stronger and have more integrity. So it's my unique sauce, so to speak.
I appreciate it's a very unique sauce. I appreciate how you kind of entered the space as an educator, and you bring it into the things you do and your stages, TEDx, and much more. Hope Makers, it's not just a business; it's a battle cry. What sparked it, and what's your personal why behind Hope Makers?
Yeah, I mean, Hope Makers, it was fascinating. So at the beginning of the pandemic, the largest healthcare company in the world came to me and 9 other companies and said, look, can you put together a program to train our 50,000 people to bring hope to the world while we're delivering our products? And I was like, heck yeah, I'd love that. I mean, it was the most exciting project I've ever been asked to put together. So literally pulled together 75 to 100 thought leaders, authors, entertainers, coaches, facilitators into this proposal. And what was fun is, as I worked on it over the 30 to 45 days that we put it together, the vision just kept building and evolving to the point where I realized it was possible for this company to bring hope to the whole world. And so phase 1 was training the 50,000. Phase 2 was taking key people from the 50,000 and then repeating it with their vendors and suppliers so they could create a whole ecosystem of hope.
Incredible.
And then phase 3, and I'd made this arrangement with the different people who were involved, plus the company, is that we would take all of it, package it so that young people, college students, could have the tools to bring hope to the whole world. So it was a 6-year, 3-phase plan.
Impact across multiple levels, and this is at the start of COVID, this has happened? This
Yeah, it
initiated or
started
before
COVID.
COVID? That's
No, it started
incredible.
COVID. Yeah, yeah.
That's incredible.
And so
Wow.
what happened, but here's the interesting thing. So it came down to us and Accenture were
Okay.
the last two companies. We made the final interview. And the company said, look, your proposal inspires us the most by far. That's why you're here.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's too big for us. We realize that focusing on the whole world is just overwhelming to us. So we're going to go with Accenture and just focus on the 50,000. But we'll come back to you for other programs, which
Okay.
you know,
Okay. Okay.
which they
Wow.
have. They've come back to me to do
Yes.
other leadership programs and
Yes.
things.
Incredible.
But I was like, wait a minute. Like I'm a little guy that grew up in Wisconsin, lives in Vermont. I
Yeah.
can think of the whole world, and you touch the whole world every day. Why can't you think of the whole world too? Right?
Yeah.
It was kind
Yeah.
of ironic to me. But long and short, but here's what I thought. I thought when I went back to the group that
Hmm.
the whole group would dissolve.
Hmm.
Like the 75 to 100 people would dissolve and just say, hey, it was nice, we enjoyed it, etc.
Hmm.
But about half the group said, this was so much fun. Let's keep meeting and finding ways to bring hope to the world.
Okay.
And so now about 30 to 50 of us get together twice a
Yeah.
year
Yep.
and talk about how do we bring hope. And this is where like the work with youth and other things come in is we often invite nonprofits to be a part of this meeting and
Okay.
brainstorm with them on how they can solve a particular challenge or issue.
And where do you
And
meet to do this? Is it virtual or is it in person?
no, it's in person. And
Okay.
so we've had meetings in California, Toronto, Stowe, Vermont, where my office is. Our next one
Yeah.
is June 5 to 8 up here in Vermont in Stowe again.
Okay. Okay.
And we get together in person. Then we do things online, but people find their own space within the community to project, to work together, to connect. So that's something that's
Yes.
very exciting. And a group of us are going to India to work with the Hope Foundation come January of 2026.
What part of India are you going to?
We're going. It's not. We're going to Mumbai,
Mumbai. Okay.
and yeah, we're going to work in the slums. And
Okay.
actually, no, I'm sorry, Calcutta. We're going to Calcutta,
Calcutta. Okay.
and we're
Wow.
doing some work there with the Hope Foundation. So Maureen, who started the Hope Foundation, has been there for over 25 years, and now has a school, has hospitals, has different clinics that work there. And so we're going to go and work there and learn more about the Hope Foundation from a boots on the ground perspective, and also serve. So very
So, so,
exciting.
so so Hope Makers and the Hope Foundation are two separate, or different groups. So are you bringing in two separate? Got it. Got it.
Two separate
So,
groups, correct?
okay. Fantastic. And I'm curious because of course, I'm Indian, and that's my
Yeah.
background. My parents came from there. Fascinating. It's really extraordinary. What sparked this for you? What's the why behind getting into creating impact this way and adding hope to the world? Like,
Yeah.
what happened to you? Well, you mentioned that you were a chaplain at Boston College, right? You're an educator.
Mhm.
Got involved with these organizations, including GE, a company I used to work for many years ago.
Mm.
What sparked this interest in creating even more impact, specifically on a global level?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to do this like from the very beginning. Like I can think of even in grade school and high school. And I went to college. Albert Schweitzer at the time was a big hero of mine. Read several of his books, and I thought, being a doctor would be a great way to give back to the world. And so I went into college and got a biology degree.
Hmm.
But about halfway through, I mean, I was well into my degree by this point, but I realized I'd rather work with the mind and the spirit than the body.
Hmm.
So I continued with my biology degree, but I didn't go into medical school. And so when I finished college, I actually applied for a Watson scholarship.
Hmm.
And it was an application, and my research would have been studying communities around the world and how they form and how they support other people and movements. That was going to be my work. And I got to the final cut of the Watson, but I didn't get it. And ironically, the week I didn't get it, a local high school called me and said, look, we need a science teacher. Will you come and teach biology in the fall?
Hmm.
And so I did. And that's how I started.
Hmm.
But what's interesting is I went there started teaching science and was working in the classroom in front of students. They asked me to coach football because I played football in college, so I did that.
Nice.
They
Nice.
asked me to start running the retreat program for the seniors, so I did that. I started the Key Club, which was a mission service, and I ended up just running all these different groups and clubs and
Yes.
weekends in the high
Yes.
school, which was a
Yes.
blast. I mean, I loved it.
Because your 20s are very community oriented and you're getting actively involved with Boston and
Yeah,
many levels and really being a stand for the students there.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
incredible.
been my thing, facilitating, working with groups, creating experiences, and then when I got together with them, Scott Peck, and I started working with him, and I did the public workshops. I would get occasional requests from people who were in companies who came to the workshop and said, "Look, I need this work for my team. We need to build more trust. We need to build more hope. We need to build more connection. We need to be more candid. Can you come in and teach us how to do that?" And so
It's
I
great.
did that on and
Go ahead.
off, and you know, end up becoming my full time gig.
Incredible. Like I love the
Yeah.
whole world of leadership, and that's quite a journey. Greg, you work with global giants, GE, United Airlines, Singapore, the Singapore Police. What do high performing teams actually do differently? What have you found?
Yeah, I mean, here are the highest performing teams. There's a few golden rules that are important. One, they share airtime. Two, they're more candid than other groups. There's less politics, less judgment. Third, they have decision making processes which change according to context. If they can, they work in consensus, but if they're under constraints, they have agreements within their group and trust within the group where they can make decisions more quickly. And then fourth, they look at collectively how they're working together and how to improve that. So process is really important for them. And those are like several of the items that we teach, like how to deal with conflict, how to make decisions, how to run meetings, how to not take things personally, like how to be more
Yes,
candid.
yes,
All of those
yes,
items are things that we teach people and teams. And what happens now is when we go in and deal with high performers in large organizations, we also teach them things like presentation skills
yeah,
and leadership presence, etc., because they'll get key strategic projects for the organization. And part of what we want them to do is not only be able to run their project team really well, but when that
yes,
project team has a great solution and something that needs to be implemented, they also need to be able to present and interact with key stakeholders, influencers
yes,
within the organization.
yeah,
And so we
yeah.
teach them those skills as well.
Amazing. It's so vital to be able to present, communicate,
Mm.
have a team, have candor, like all the pieces that go into it, and like having a framework. You mentioned like having part
Right.
of like a system of framework. Big believer in that with the work we do with Success Circles. Like having a
Right.
framework is very vital, and being adaptable. I heard you say that too. So if getting feedback, there's some
Hmm.
aspects of adaptability in there. Being resilient. Like, how do you teach resilience and adaptability when the pressure's on and the future's unknown?
Yeah, so this is an important topic for me because I think a lot of people think resilience is a technique,
Hmm.
and my belief is it's a mindset.
Yeah.
So if I believe that I can make it through anything and I don't get triggered and thrown off my game,
Hmm.
like I can discern what's happening,
Hmm.
I can focus my attention on what's working, what's causing it to work,
Hmm.
and even if something isn't working, I'm able to go back into my past to get the lessons I need to come to the future
Yeah.
or into the
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
I'm resilient.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a knowledge or a technical base. That's a
Yeah.
mindset.
Yes. Yeah.
And the more I can practice that mindset, the more resilient I can be. I mean, it's if you look at Martin Seligman's work
Yeah.
in his book Flourish, right? He's got some wonderful research on this. He found that the patterns of of a non-resilient person
Yeah.
is when they face failure or difficulty, they have a pretty distinct pattern. This is about me. It's always been about me, and I'm not going to be able to change.
Yeah.
Like that's the non-resilient thinking pattern.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
resilient person says something very different. It's not just about me, it's about the context. This is just the moment, and every
Yep.
moment's different.
Yep.
And I can change and be different in the next context if I learn from this one,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
right?
Brilliant.
So it's not
Yeah.
it's not what happens to me, it's how I react to what happens to me.
Right. Very well said.
And
And I
so,
love also how you mentioned tap into experiences. Where have I been this before? Where I've been resilient before? Where are other examples as we step
mhm,
back in the moment, in dealing with the situation, this crisis, perhaps. I love how you bring
exactly.
it all together. It's great.
I'll tell you the thing that people forget all the time is their past experience.
Yeah.
It's in the moment of pain,
Yeah.
people so not only do they dismiss it, they don't even realize it or think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And it requires oftentimes a coach or a facilitator or a friend who can ask them some simple questions.
Right.
Like, in the past, when have you faced a difficulty?
Right.
What did you do?
Right.
What happened?
Right.
What worked?
Yeah.
What caused it to work? What did you learn from all that? What can you do this
Yep.
time?
Yep.
Like
Absolutely
just
brilliant.
that simple
Yeah.
series of questions can really help a person like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this is painful right now, but I have been through this before. I have
Exactly.
done something similar.
Yeah. It could be at a
Yeah, in
younger
fact, I helped
age. It
someone
could
else.
be
Yeah.
exactly brilliant.
And
Yeah.
and that's what it takes to be resilient.
Yeah. We have in our community. It's all based on connecting people together, asking questions, challenging questions,
Hmm.
especially as we begin a quarter or a new period, reviewing the highs, the lows, the lessons, reviewing the lessons are very vital because as we connect those lessons from those experiences, the challenges, we're able to kind of go anew into the next quarter, into the next experience. Right now we're in Q2, but it's all what you just said just now. Resilience is a matter of
Right.
reflecting, being fully present, recognizing that you've gone through this before, whatever
Hmm.
challenge, circumstance. It could even be at a young age, maybe as a
Of
child,
course.
dealing with that. It's very very vital. My sister was coaching my nephew,
Mm.
and spent about an hour on the phone, and she had my nephew recognize that the challenges he's dealing with as a teen, they're there, and to acknowledge that and to get the support, and she's there and I'm there, but also realizing that there were challenges that our family went through,
Hmm.
in terms of growing up in India on poverty and experiences. My mom's sister passed away at a young age, and all these things that happened. Just having him realize that that resilience is in his blood, that it's
Mm.
there, and that it's important to kind of reach out, get support. And I just realized that in any wherever anyone's at in life, whether they're an entrepreneur, whether they're a teen, whether they're in college, you mentioned people in college when you were in
Hmm.
Boston, to organizations, United Airlines, GE, working with teams. It's tapping into having people recognize that there's grit and resilience that they can tap into to get through anything, especially COVID.
Right.
You mentioned the Hope Makers Foundry
Right.
Group, that community. That was a challenging time for part of the world. Right now, in part of the world, we're dealing with tariffs, right? And people might consider this to be a challenging experience. And at the same time, by being resourceful, which is what I imagine they're hoping us to do in this unique landscape,
Hmm.
good things come out of it. I'm curious, and I don't want to get political about this, not being political, but what are your thoughts about the world currently, the current status as far as this situation with tariffs and people? Some people are being less resourceful, some people are being more resourceful. What are your thoughts about that currently?
Well, it's hard for me not to be political with whatever comment I say here. Um, but let me say what I understand from science.
Yes.
It usually doesn't work out well when you piss people off.
Yeah.
And you're my bias,
Mm.
much better off working with people, being kind, but creating boundaries. If things aren't fair, saying, look, here's what I'm going to do, here's why I'm going to do it. I need to create a fair system for my people so we can work together If we can't work together, here's what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it, and we'll have to sort through the consequences. Right? I think that approach works fine. You got to be hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But to be arrogant, to name
Right.
call,
Yeah.
to give all of my neighbors a reason to gang up against me,
Yeah.
usually not a good move. And so,
Yeah. I
I
agree.
mean,
I concur. Yeah.
yeah. And so now I look at companies, right? I coach and work with leaders of companies.
Yes.
If I'm coaching a CEO or an executive team, am I going to coach them to pull a hard line against all their employees? Do this or else? With social media the way it is and the way employees can contact and get on
Right.
boards and Facebook and everything else and publish
Right.
to the world? Absolutely
Yep.
not.
Nope.
I'm going to say, let's find the most respectful way that we can acknowledge what the employees have done for us, but the direction we're changing and why we're changing it, and even if possible, bring them in to have a voice
Yeah.
so we can do this as well as possible, utilizing all of our resources.
Right.
That's what I would coach
Getting
and recommend.
and getting alignment there. It's basically a
And
big
getting
part of it. Getting
alignment as much
elected
as
people.
possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if there's a time frame saying, look, based on this quarter or based on when we have to report or based on the way the market's going, we only have X amount of time to do this. So let's hurry. Perfectly fine. Right?
Yes.
Let's be clear about it, candid and transparent versus arrogant, yelling, name calling.
Yeah.
I mean,
My,
it's just,
my wife and I we had our first honeymoon in Montreal, and we're planning to go there in this year, this August for that. But now we're rethinking things because of that. You know? My sister was born in Canada. Like we live in New York, but
yeah.
just fascinating, and it's just why create separation. And I know we're not necessarily getting political here, but I think you and I have similar intentions, especially speaking from the perspective of leadership. What does it create? What does it take to create collaboration, to unite, to stand together, to work together as a united world? And I know the situations or times they're difficult, and there's terrorism and all these things, and not to get
Right.
into that. But it is leadership is unique. People have different perspectives on what leadership is, and I believe you and I align with how we see things, especially as it relates to high performing teams and making progress happen.
Look, if I'm running a team or a group and one person says elbows up and another person on his team says, I'm going to retaliate based on what you've just done, we've got issues.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
better sort those out before we reach agreements that require trust in order for us to move forward.
right. The context is already sloppy right there, so you got to create a better
It's all right.
context in the moment. Yeah,
So if I'm a wise leader, how can I do that without having people have to put their elbows up and retaliate? Because it creates a whole nother barrier to cooperation. Because let's face it, we're all in this together, whether we want to or not. It's
right.
one planet, it's
Yeah,
round, it's the same air, it's the same resources, it's the same supply chain all the way around at this point.
yes,
And COVID taught us you can't just shut it down and turn it back on. It takes a
yeah,
long time.
yeah,
So those are my thoughts in terms of what needs to go. But
yes,
let's go back to your other point.
yeah,
Now it's time to adapt.
yeah,
And here's where I think people like you and I are really going to be needed. It's not going to be easy to rebuild the trust. And people's personal skills, as far as I can tell, are diminishing with each generation, not increasing.
yeah, yes.
More and more
Agreed.
is being done online,
Yeah,
more and more is being done remotely. There's greater mental health and stress in people in the
yes,
system and in generations coming up.
yes,
So now, with trust breaking down and trust needing to be present for people to have healthy conversations to build contracts and agreements and relationships where they can move forward, it's going to require more of us with more interpersonal skills to make that
yes,
happen.
yeah, 1,000%. Yeah,
So now people like you and I become more valuable. I mean, I've spent my whole life facilitating, working with groups, working with teams, face to face, etc. I'm bringing in more AI. I'm bringing in
yes,
more technology because the world's calling for that. And it's also calling for more interpersonal skills.
So how do
And
you
that's,
blend those two together? So
yeah,
you mentioned AI here, and I'm happy about that. I'm grateful, and we're kind of actually part of a AI community mastermind with some amazingly exceptional and brilliant leaders on a global level. We're part of that.
right.
How do you mesh in AI in this unique culture, as you mentioned before, where people can get easily distracted? They're not in person, kind of connecting one on one. They
Right.
might be working remotely. And then there's this thing that might suck their attention, like the social dilemma talks about that idea, away from being fully present with the team, what's vital to keep the team growing. How do you deal with that? How do you integrate AI into that?
Yeah, so I can tell you how not to do it. Let me start with that. I hired a company. They're familiar with my TED Talk, the publications, the work we've been doing, the awards we've won. And I'm not much for promoting online. Like, it's never been my focus. My focus has always just been doing the work and getting results from the work. But this company said, look, we can really promote you. So I was like, all right, gave him a shot. One day, my team comes to me and says, hey, do you know so and so? I saw him on LinkedIn. I'm like, no, I have no idea who that is. They were like, well, they say they work for us. I'm like, what?
Mm,
So I go online, find this profile, says the person works for us in sales and marketing.
mm.
I'm like, we don't even have a sales and marketing department. And then I realize, oh, I wonder if it's this company and they think it's okay for them to say that someone's working for me when they're really
Yeah,
not. They're a separate company. They're a third party. And how do we be
right.
honest about that? I call up the marketing company, like, oh, yeah, that's us. I'm like, okay, well, you have to have that person take that profile down because it's not honest. It's not
Yeah,
transparent.
yeah.
And they say, oh, that's not a person. I'm like, what do you mean it's not a person? Like, oh, no, that's just a fake link profile we put on so we can automate it. I'm like,
Wow.
that's even worse. Like, are you kidding
Exactly.
me? I'm like, are you kidding me? The whole brand, our whole thing is about face to face and
Yes.
honesty and transparency. And I fired him, like on the spot, fired him.
Yeah,
I'm like, this
yeah,
is ridiculous. I was so clear about what our brand was and what we wanted to do and how we wanted to be in the world. So that's the wrong way to do it.
yeah,
And I think that's going to become more and more prevalent and more difficult for people to stand out because it's easier to flood the system with 60, 70% okay
yeah.
versus 100% quality
Right.
and difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not how to do it. To be honest with you, on an online perspective from a marketing, I'm still working with it. Like, I'm not quite sure how to do it. I
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
haven't found my footing in that regard. Now, but I am finding my footing in terms of developing good LMS, developing communication systems, having people communicate and connect. Like all of that's starting to work. And
Yeah.
being able to put tools online in a way that people can use them in real time and develop habits, collective habits, like all of that, like the tools to support are great. But I'm concerned about the marketing and the messaging.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
example of this company putting up a fake profile for me thinking that was a good idea. That's awful.
Right. Right.
That's awful.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's very fascinating, the world we live in, and the options and
yeah.
choices, and especially coming from somebody who's very community driven. You mentioned you're studying that, and then you got pulled into Boston College, and then you kind of brought leadership now to organizations, and very fascinating where things are going, and we augmented reality and
Hmm.
being able to put on glasses and be able to engage in that way, and that's the future looks very unique, and it'll take people like yourself who bring people together, maybe in a real setting, right, out of the virtual
Hmm.
world to connect, to be able to build the skills that are very vital so that when they get back to the virtual world, they're able to kind of engage and see each other and
Right.
have culture that thrives, being able to kind of borrow from both, as I'd say it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Amazing.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
So tell us about the high performing teams workshop. Who is it for and why should they listen right now?
Yeah, so two things on the high performing teams workshop. And I think I've put this together even since we talked last time. We do high performing teams workshops within organizations. We build it into our leadership programs. Like as an example, I'm working right now with 30 high potential VPs to be leaders in a particular global company. We're teaching them how to run high performing teams. They each have projects that they're working on that are strategically important to the organization. One project is how do we get medicines on the last mile of the supply chain? Because oftentimes, especially in difficult rural areas, getting the drug or the product on that last mile is critical.
Yes.
So a highly strategic project. So we run it, we build it into our leadership programs, we run it as a workshop for intact teams. But I'm also now doing a master class for people who are internal or external and want to coach and run high performing teams. So I'm now taking the tools that we've learned and we've been using for 20 plus years and taking the latest research, and we're now teaching people how to do it as well. So we're starting a master class June 4th, the day before Hope Makers, and then following Hope Makers, several online pieces. So we'll have some face to face, some online to teach people how to run and do high performing teams. And it's kind of exciting. I'm actually on the 18th of this month going to the Middle East and doing some work in Kuwait and Dubai and other places, sharing this research and work as well. So it's now going global pretty quickly.
That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I love that you're in this connected world, India and the Middle East. It's fantastic. How do people find out about the masterclass, the workshop? Is it on your Westwood International website, or is it on the Hope Makers Collective site? How do people find out
Yeah.
about it?
There's two places. One, they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Greg Zlevor on the whole planet. So if they find me
That's a good.
in that
That's a good
name,
thing.
it's a great name. There's only about 200 or 300 of us on the planet, so I'm the only one on LinkedIn that's named Greg Zlevor. So that's the first thing. Second, if they want to learn more about Hope Makers, if they go to hopemakerscollective.com, they'll find the landing page for the face-to-face experience and have an opportunity to sign up for getting together with us. Now, I will say it's a vetted group. There's only about 30 or 50 of us that meet. I talk to everyone to make sure everyone's vetted and that they're aligned with the 5 values. And so people who listen, appreciate what's working, and are willing to serve, those are the people who fit best for us in our community. If you're coming to
Are, are,
sell
those,
something,
are those three? Are those three of the 5 values you just mentioned just now?
those are 3 of the
Listen,
5 values. The other 2 are think big together and MGSH,
fantastic.
make
Got it.
good shit happen. Those are our 5
Awesome.
values. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
And
And you would
so
add to that, you see, is that they're going to sell. If they're going to sell to the collective or the group, then obviously they're
don't come.
pulled out.
Yeah, this
So
is
they'll come.
not a
Yeah.
this is not like some of the networking groups where you come and pass out your business cards and try to get work and all that. We are relationship driven. We're listening first, and we're here to serve. So that's why I vet everyone who comes in the door.
Incredible, as it should be.
Yeah.
As it should
Yeah.
be. If you had one message to every leader listening who's been burned out or overwhelmed, what would that be?
It would be this, like the emotions that you're feeling has a message for you. Don't kill the messenger. Don't try to run away from the emotion, the feeling. Get the message.
Hmm.
And then when you get the message, you can let go of the feeling or the burnout and follow through on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was angry recently at someone
Hmm.
and I wanted to act out of the anger. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. You teach this stuff. So I was like, what's the message in the anger?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I realized I felt like I was being treated unfairly. I'm like, okay, I got the message. I can now let go of the anger. Now,
Yeah.
what do I want to do about it?
Hmm.
Then I could go to the person and have a conversation. Look, I saw this happen. Here's the way I interpreted it.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair. Is my judgment correct? And we sorted it out.
Amazing. Yeah. Versus
Right?
going
So,
forward with a bias in advance and projecting that and so forth, and you dealt with that. You got to the source of it. It's amazing. Yeah.
exactly. So that'd be and it's kind of what I talk about in my TED Talk as well. So if people want a refresher on that one, it's the key
What's
point
the
of
name of
my
your TED
TED
Talk?
Talk.
What's the name of your TED Talk?
Oh, I don't even remember. But if you look up Greg
Well,
Zlevor, it'll be the only TED Talk by Greg Zlevor.
okay.
I think it's
We'll
how the
we'll link it.
wise. I think it's how the
We'll link
wise live wisely. Yeah.
we'll link it in the mind map. I think I have it here too. So it's pulling up
Okay.
now, and it is called exactly How the Wise Live Wisely by Greg Zlevor. So we'll have that.
Yeah.
Did that in
Right.
Wilmington. It's awesome. My
Yeah.
dad and I had a when I was a young kid. We went to Wilmington, and it's the only one of the few father-son trips we had. I was
Mm,
like 13, 14 years old, and it was very memorable on many, many, many levels. Being out there,
beautiful.
beautiful place.
Yeah.
What's one ritual that keeps you grounded, Greg, each day?
Ooh, there's a few of them. One, hugging my wife. Love my wife. Very
That's a good
fortunate to
one.
be in a great relationship. Hugging her in the morning, hugging her at night. That's a big one. Two, meditating every day, anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes every day. Exercising regularly. Love the sauna and the cold shower follow up. Those
Mm,
are a few of the things that, few of the rituals I have in my life that keep me going and grounded. And then regular prayer, you know.
incredible.
Oftentimes,
Yeah.
meditate and prayer
All
go together, and sometimes they're separate. But
yes,
yeah, those are
yes,
the
very
things for me.
vital.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Very vital. Amazing. Last question. If you could leave one legacy lesson behind, what would that be? And you probably already covered this, but you might want to re-say it. I have a
Mm.
feeling what it is, especially given that your commitment to the world is very impact focused. You're already doing that, but what's one legacy lesson you could leave
Yeah.
behind?
To me, it would be one, just having a great relationship with, the people who want to have relationships with me. Right now, that's my son and my wife and my stepkids, which are great. And and then second, it would be just a ripple for people to create more community, more connection, more love, more respect, and using that to build and create what needs to be created. That would be the legacy.
Incredible. I love
Yeah.
that, especially if you.
Yeah.
I somehow prior to this interview, meeting you now, I forgot how community was integral in who you are as a person,
Mm.
what you brought forward over the years as a teacher, as an educator into organizations with GE, United Airlines, and others. It is so vital, especially this day and age. It all makes sense what you've done with Hope Makers and the Hope Foundation. Community is very vital. People lose out because they think they're by themselves. They're disconnected. And when you bring community forward, amazing things can happen. Greg, you're not just building leaders, you're building legacy. From boardrooms to back streets, your mission screams impact. Thank you for showing us that success is service in motion. This was quite a privilege. We'll have this on our website, rulesforsuccess.com, the summary mind map, how to connect with you, your TED Talk, 9 books, 9 bestsellers. I believe you're working on a 10th, which is quite
Yeah.
extraordinary.
I mean,
And
last
any
request, we're now doing a book on hope makers, like people in the group, talking about how they create hope in the world. And if you don't mind, we're going to publish it. I think we're going to launch it June 7th. I'll send it your way, and if people want to pre-order the book, it'd be great. We'd really appreciate that.
we'll link that into the podcast on science.
Beautiful.
Absolutely amazing. 'Cause I think you're 10. I'm sure all your books are winners. Of course, are bestsellers, and having number 10 focus on impact that way is even more extraordinary. So kudos for you on your mission, your journey. This has been a privilege for our audience. Once again, rulesforsuccess.com. Access all of this. This has been a privilege. Joseph Varghese over and out. Connect with Greg via our website, and he's definitely one of the greatest change makers we've interacted with. I've interacted with in quite some time. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Joseph.